homework questions from 12.3. Whoa, hang on, Emon, did you have questions from 12.3? What was yours? Which one? 29.
49.
Whoa, I have hands, people.
49.
She
What?
meant 49.
Oh, 49, I'm so sorry.
Yes, 49 compound interest? Yeah, that's.
49 in compound interest?
No,
Is 49 okay. That's my life. Okay, I saw another hand.
For 49 as well.
Okay, I guess I'm doing 49 times compound interest. Yeah, I figured you guys would get stuck on this one, even though I told you P is a constant. I did.
Is this the only one we're doing?
Well, yeah.
Nobody said anything else.
No, I didn't know
Okay. P dollars is invested for N years at 10% compound interest, compounded continuously. The rate at which the future value growing is given as this function. At what function describes the future value at the end of N years? Well, if this is the rate of growth of future value, what do you think the future value function is going to be? The rate of growth is another way of saying the
Derivative?
derivative. So if this is the derivative, what's the total future value going to be?
The derivative?
The integral?
Integral?
The integral of the derivative,
Yeah.
right?
Wait, sorry, say that again?
I'm gonna kill you.
Not having that.
Yeah, you're fine. So this was given as the rate of change of the future value, right? Which is another way of saying the derivative, right? Because rate of change is slope, slope is derivative. So it asks you to find the total future value. So if you're given the rate of, if you're given the rate of change of something and you're asked to find the total of it, you've got to integrate. It's exactly like being given marginal revenue and asked to find total revenue, right? Marginal revenue is the derivative. If you're given the derivative and you're asked to find the total, you're going to integrate.
Gotcha.
Okay? So S is going to be the integral of 0.1 PE to the 0.1 N with respect to N, because N is our variable. So again, P is a constant, guys. So what's our U?
The 0.1
And what's U prime?
that derivative.
0.1. And what do we have?
The
0.1
0.1 P. And what do we want?
0.1.
0.1. So what do we do with the P, which is constant?
We move it.
We pull it out, exactly. So this is gonna be P 0.1 e to the 0.1 n with respect to n, which is just P times e to the 0.1 n plus k. Now, we have to solve for that k. What do we know?
So we didn't want the P, that's why we pulled it out.
We didn't want it because it's not part of our u prime. Remember, this follows the same exact set of rules that we've been following so far. So what do we know? When n equals 0, how much is in your account?
0.
No, no,
1B.
1p. P is what you invested, guys. So at 0 years invested, how much have you invested? Just your initial amount, right? So when n equals 0, I don't know what the hell that is, but I'm gonna fix it right now. That could do this. Don't you hate it when your brain doesn't do what you want it to do? When n equals 0, s is gonna equal p, isn't it? Right? So p equals p e to the 0.1 n plus k. Oh wait, n is 0. So what's 0.1 times 0?
0.
And e to the 0th power is
1.
1. 1 times p is,
P.
so what does k equal? Yeah, k equals 0 here. So my real future value function is p e to the 0.1 n. So So if any of you have seen compounding continuously before, that's exactly what it is. It's whatever you invested times e to the APR times y. So here's your APR, 10% interest, and your y is just n in this case, different formatting, same thing. Right? Okay, so now I'm warm.
Are we gonna
I
have,
hate menopause.
are we gonna have something similar like this on the test? Like a
Well, maybe. It's a
application?
business
It
class.
is.
You might see something like this on the test. I wouldn't guarantee it, but you might. Be prepared, Boy Scout.
Are the application problems on the test gonna be sort of like more like what the book is than
Yeah.
compared to last time?
Oh, last time's exam had problems a lot like the book.
It had problems that were more like your handout, I would say.
Yeah. Look for something in between. Look for my handout type formulas, look for handout type problems, look for problems from your homework. Anything I've given you is, you know, pretty much fair game. If it's on the review, it could be on the test. And I have a review sheet for you guys as well. Okay, so,
Are you gonna give out like an applications handout too, like how you did last time? Cool.
today. Yeah. So the second part of this is how long does it take this to double? Okay, so we're looking for n, right? We're looking for n, we're looking for number of years or time. And if it doubles, what's the value of s? Let me ask you, it's what?
2P.
Not 2s,
2P.
2p, who said that?
2P.
Ah, memo, why is it 2p?
Well, because it's going to be multiplied. It's going to be doubled,
Well, yeah, so you initially invested p, right?
right?
So if it doubles, what you're gonna end up with is 2p, right? Okay, so I'm gonna set s equal to 2p equals p e to the 0.1 n. Now I'm gonna divide both sides by p. And I'll get 2 equals e to the 0.1 n. And now there's something on your tattoo that reminds you of a way to get to an exponent variable. So you're gonna look on your logs and exponents shortcuts, so the right side of your tattoo. How can we get to the exponent of an e? How can we get to that? What's the only way to do that? Ah, Autumn, say it again. Natural log. So if I go here and I take the natural log of both sides, because it's equal opportunity, right? This side stays natural log of 2, and this side becomes 0.1 n. So far, so good, guys?
I'm
Caitlin?
really stuck like on that whole center part.
This bit.
Yeah.
Do you see how I got to here?
The when n equals 0 and s equals p, will you just like explain how you got that?
Yeah, so n is number of years invested, and s is the future value of your
And
investment.
that was given in the problem.
Yeah, this was not given, but n is number of years invested and s is future value of your investment was given in the problem. So you use common sense. At the moment you plug the money into the bank, how much money do you have?
All of it?
Yeah, P, your investment.
Okay.
So at the moment you plug value in, number of years saved is 0, you have P amount of money, whatever it happens to be.
And so the second part was asking like, when would your money be doubled, right?
Yeah, so now I'm asking here, so this is the end of part A. This is part A. And part B is, how long would it take it to double? Okay, so now we're solving for n.
Okay, and then where did the p go?
Well, you tell me, if I have a p on both sides and I divide both sides by p, what happens? Poof. Exactly, who said that? They disappear. If I divide this side by p and I divide this side by p, which you can do, because algebra, what happens to the p over here?
Well, they disappeared, yeah.
And yeah, the p over here goes away too. So you're gonna end up with just this. So the p's are gone.
Okay.
So far, so
And then
good.
take the natural log.
Take the natural log of both sides, because that allows you to solve for n. So what I'm using, Caitlin's like, no, I'm not buying this. What I'm using here, Caitlin, is natural log of e to the x equals x. And that's on your tattoo. Okay? So now what do I divide both sides by to get to n by itself? Yep, natural log of 2 divided by 0.1 equals the amount of time it takes to double. And you guys can do that in your calculators. Dope indeed. Questions? It's gonna be hard for you guys sitting there to see, because you're gonna be like staring at this halfway along. Are you guys gonna struggle being able to see? Do you want me to try really hard to keep to that side?
You changed it to P right there because S equals P, right? So you just like changed it to
Yeah.
P.
So I just took this formula and I subbed in S for, or P for S. Nothing else has changed, except now I've given N a value of 0. I'm applying my nugget, basically. Okay. Any other questions on this one? Okay, what was the hardest part on this problem? All of it? That's fair. This was a tough problem. That's fair. All right. So today we do indefinites and applications.
Do you wait to rate that?
Yep. Certainly.
These tests will be easier or harder?
So you might win this one.
It's not tough subjects.
You're the one who challenged me, so.
It was more for me to like really get on it. Really.
Yeah. I feel that. Have any study?
Yeah, I don't take so.
Caitlin, you got it? Okay. Groovy.
Oh,
So review next Monday?
Yep, review next Monday. Today is the last day of new material before the exam. So next time we get a whole day of review. Yay! Yay, review! To remember all the things we forgot about chapter 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we're gonna focus on. All right. So, how many of you guys read these handouts all the way through? No lies.
I tried.
Okay.
Right before the test.
Right before the test?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Mona says you're a good student.
Who?
Mona,
Mokanashi?
yeah. I still haven't seen it yet, but you know, I'm sure it'll show up.
Ah, ha, ha.
When I make an A in your class, you will take that one.
When you make an A in my class, I will buy you a drink.
Hey.
2 drinks.
I did get red all over me. Oh, well.
Does your best friend teach too?
My best friend, Trina, the one that came out with her daughter this
How
last
did you
weekend.
know your best friend?
Oh, Mona, she's like my work wife. I love her.
I took
Dr.
it.
Mokanashu. She's just one of my colleagues, and I adore her. And last semester, I filled in for her class once. I don't know how many of you were in there. I know Jessica, I know you were in there. Oh, a bunch of you. Oh my God. And apparently, I didn't scare them enough, so they all signed up for my class.
Where's that line?
Oh, did she really? Ah!
I don't remember that.
I
I'm
honestly
glad.
think you were the best choice for me. Because he
I have a couple of bad ones too. She's foul. Well, it's college. I don't know.
You're an adult.
Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to talk about applications. I took it down. All right. I'm going to do a couple on the board and then we're going to do homework tech problems together, straight out of the textbook. Does that sound reasonable to you guys?
12.4 is what?
Applications. 12.4. You guys will find that basically every chapter we do, with the exception of 11, we end up with an application section. Okay, so this is the indefinite integral and applications. So if I give you something like this, marginal cost equals 3x plus 50, and I also tell you that fixed costs are $100 a month, and I ask you to find the total cost function, what are you gonna do?
The integral.
You're gonna integrate, yeah. You're definitely gonna integrate. Integrate what?
The 3x plus 50.
With respect to what?
dx.
Okay.
X.
Is this integral 1, 2, 3, or 4?
1.
So the cost is integral of 3x plus 50 with respect to x. This is integral number 1, guys. Why?
Because
The base.
Because what?
Because I say.
Not because of you. Anyone else? It doesn't have an exponent. You're fine, Ryan. Adam, Ryan. Yes, it does not have an exponent. It does not have an e. It does not have a -1. So by those virtues, it cannot be integrals 2, 3, and 4. It has to be integral number 1. You guys cool with this? Groovy. So what's my integral gonna be?
Wait, it's integral number 1 because it doesn't have an exponent,
Yeah, there's no exponent up here.
but it's not just an x though.
Don't get frustrated. She's asking questions everyone's thinking. Caitlin, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, what?
No, you're cool.
You're getting frustrated with me?
Nope, not at all. Not in my classroom.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the x to the n, like, that's what integral number 1 is, that there's no, you were saying last class that the difference between 1 and 2 is like there's a function to the n versus an
Right.
x to the n, but this is a function.
This is a function, sure, but there's no exponent here tying it together. If you look at the nature of integral number 2, it's got a function times a function to a power. So that u is base function. We don't really have base function here. We have base x and base x. So that's integral number 1. Or if it helps, we don't have a function times a function to a power, so it's not integral number 2. Okay? And it can't be 3 or 4. Do you see why?
I don't get what you mean by the function times a function, like having the u, like u
So-
prime times u.
Yeah. So if I gave you like 6x minus 10 to the 5th power times 15, that would be a function times a function. And one of them has a power associated with it.
Okay, so
Okay.
because it's just by itself and
Yeah.
there's only one function,
It's
it
by
is
itself.
x.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's my integral, guys. Now you're all afraid of me. It's okay.
3x plus 50.
Plus some constant associated with cost. All right.
Could you do 3x squared plus 50x all over 2?
No,
No?
no. Because this has an n equals 0 and plus 1 equals 1. There is no 2 associated with the 50.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this has x, or n equals 1, n plus 1 equals 2. So what's really happening here is this is 50x to the 1 over 1. If that makes sense. So they're their own operations. Okay, so now we need a nugget. What's my nugget?
$100 a month.
Fixed costs are $100 a month. What are fixed costs, guys?
They don't change.
They don't change based on what? Here's cost. These are fixed costs. So fixed costs are when x equals what?
0.
Yeah. X equals 0 here. And whatever the resultant y is, those are your fixed costs, okay? So your nugget can be translated to be C equals 100 when x equals 0. When you build nothing, you still have $100 of costs associated with doing business. So far, so good? So now we just plug that information into this. So 100 equals 3/2 times 0 squared plus 50 times 0 plus k sub c. And what does k sub c equal, guys? In this case, Ferris, right? K sub c equals 100. Never make the assumption, just like with revenue, never make the assumption that fixed costs are equal to k. Never, ever, ever, ever. Caitlin, what's up?
I'm just like a reminder, I guess, but you plugged 100 in, you plug like what your fixed costs are into the cost function, right, to find what?
Careful. I plugged my fixed costs into my cost. I didn't plug them into the function, I plugged 0 into the function.
Okay, you plugged 100 in for cost,
Mhm.
and then you plugged 0 in.
And 0 in for x. So at this point, guys, this is just like every other one that we've done. We have 3 unknowns. We have c, we have x, we have k. We need to find a value for k because cost is a one variable function. It's with respect to x, not k. So we need a value for k. And we use this nugget right here to find it.
So you're just finding k right there.
I'm just finding k. Brian?
If those two first terms cancel out, wouldn't that make k 100 making it not
Oh,
0?
crap.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that too.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Who was in this?
I was looking at it.
Yes.
I was thinking it, I didn't wanna say
Brian,
anything, but I was
Marco,
totally thinking the same thing.
Autumn? Is that all of you?
I was totally thinking that.
Were you really?
Yeah, it was all in my head.
Were you really?
I heard Adam whisper.
Anybody else? It's an honor system. Was anybody on RS? Were you really? Okay, anybody else? All right, extra credit for you four. Yeah. Like my brain right now, clearly. You wanna try another?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Can I catch you again?
What?
You still have KC equals
Wait,
0
did
over
you
there.
find total cost?
Damn it, but I put it in here. I put it in the formula.
Doesn't count.
Wait, did you find total cost then? I missed that.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's my last one,
I
so it's
hate
okay.
you. No, I don't hate you guys. See, I did put it in there.
No,
Are you happy now?
almost.
So,
Okay,
but so the fixed cost is what helped you find K, and then
Yeah.
K gives you your total cost.
K gives me my real cost function, yeah, okay? Because up until that point, I'm not sure what it actually is. What I'm basically trying to find out, guys, is where does this start? I know it starts at 100, but now what? In order to make this statement true, K has to equal something, right? And that extra nugget allows us to find that thing that we're missing. So now let's look at another one. What did I just say? Just because I give you fixed costs doesn't mean K will equal fixed costs. Let me show you what I'm talking about. 2x plus 25 to the 1/2 and fixed costs are $11,125. So now we're gonna find total cost. So how am I gonna do that? Great, great. Is this the number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Why number 2, guys? Because of the power. Caitlin, do you see the difference here?
Yeah, because it's like 3 times something, right?
Because it's something times a function to a power, and that power is not negative one,
But if
so
that three wasn't there,
it wouldn't matter. Cause you'd still have, your u prime is just gonna be some constant, right? If this were just a one, it wouldn't matter, cause u prime is just two. So we're gonna have to multiply and divide by two. So it doesn't matter what's sitting here. Does that make sense?
okay, well, I'm just trying to understand, cause before, technically, that function would have had a power to the one, right?
Yeah,
What's making
it
it,
still does. It still has a power to the one, 3 to the one.
no, I mean, the two x plus, like in the previous one,
Right,
3x plus 50 would have technically had a power to the one, so
sure.
what's making this different than that, I guess?
Because with a power of one, you can take the elements apart. You can unwrap it, basically. You know how when we were doing the natural log integrals and we wrapped it, gave it a power of one, and we dragged it uptown? Well, wrapping and unwrapping with a power of one is really easy. 3x plus 15 is the same as 3x plus 15 to the power of one. You can unwrap that and split those terms up. You cannot unwrap this and split those terms
With
up
the 1/2.
with any other with any other exponent other than one. You just can't do it. One is the only thing you can just sort of split
I'm
apart.
lost.
So if that was
Okay,
3
so-
times 2 to the 25 and there was no powers, that would be,
That would be integral number one. Yeah,
or integral number one, that's.
yeah, absolutely. So my u, guys, is 2x plus 25. My u prime is 2. I have 3. I want 2. What do I multiply and divide by?
2.
2. So cost equals, I'm going to end up with, that is not right.
So now you have
God. My allergies are killing me today, guys. I look high and I'm not. I'm just a wreck. I'm a hot mess.
This
But I'll
one.
get you through today, I promise.
Which is one.
No, you circle this guy.
Oh,
You
never
bring
mind.
this guy
See, that
down.
was in
Yeah,
there
you're
as
right.
well. Jeez Louise. Okay, so now I'm gonna circle what I need and kick out what I don't. I need a 2. I do not need that 3 or that 2. So now I get cost equals 3/2 integral to 2x plus 3/2 with respect to x. And so what's my preliminary cost function when I integrate, guys? 2x plus 25 to the what power? Over 3/2 plus some constant associated with cost. Okay. So before I get excited about this, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna donut it, yeah, so this is gonna invert and multiply, so the 3 is gonna stay downtown and the 2 is gonna pop up. What do you think is gonna happen with these? They're gonna cancel, they're entirely gonna cancel. So I'm left with c equals 2x plus 25 to the 3/2 plus some constant. Am I done?
Yeah, when you write it out,
Yeah, we were, show, like the 3's just cancel each other because they're like, one's on top and one's on bottom.
Yeah, so if I do my little donut, 3 is gonna end up on the bottom and 2 is gonna end up on top. So this 2 is gonna cancel with this 2, and this 3 is gonna cancel with this 3.
Okay, so you're doing the donut, 3/2.
Yeah, or another way to look at this is 3/2 is on top, 3/2 is on the bottom, they cancel.
Hmm?
That's another fast way to look at it. So now what do I need?
Plus one.
Nugget,
I need a nugget. What's my nugget, Ryan?
Numerator plus the denominator over denominator. So one
Yep,
plus
so how do I set that up in the
plus 3 over
equation?
2.
the fixed cost is 11,125, equal to 0, plus 25, 3, plus K.
Okay, so we have 2 times 0 is 0 plus 25 is 25. 25 to the 3/2. It's, yeah, it's 125. How'd you do that? Oh, I'm doing it this way. So that's like 25 times the square root of 25, which is 25 times 5, which is 125.
This is
Ruby.
something we would do on our calculator, right?
Sure, I like to do it in my brain, but my brain is messed up today.
And as far as the nugget, because you didn't write it out, it's the, at 0 production, there's still
A
11.
cost of,
A
yeah,
cost of 11,000.
yeah. So what does K sub C equal, guys? 11,125 equals 125 plus K sub C. K sub C equals 11,000. Well, that's gonna change things, isn't it? By golly, yeah, it is. Great, so my final cost function is going to be 2x plus 25 to the 3 halves plus 11,000. Told you guys we would be reviving constants from the dead. Okay. Questions over this?
I know I'm pissing someone off in class, but.
Don't
just
worry about it.
wondering Because,
All you have to worry about is you and me, girl.
I know, but just wondering, because this is actually like part of the reason why you get an extra point or two on the test. Like you subtract 125 in that instance instead of like divide each side, right?
Yep. So in this case, I'm saying I wanna isolate K sub C. So if I subtract 125 from both sides, I'm left with K sub C equals 11,000.
Can you just explain like how you know when you're supposed to like subtract it versus like divide each
Well,
side?
it's about the operation between the things you wanna isolate. So if this is K sub C plus some number, you're gonna subtract it, because what undoes addition?
Subtraction. But
And
if it was 125
These
K's
were
of C.
multiplied together,
Yeah,
then what undoes multiplication?
division.
Division, okay.
Gotcha.
Good. All right. Any other questions on this one? All right. Never be afraid to ask a question, guys. Not gonna let anyone laugh at you. Not ever. So let's tackle some that are straight out of the textbook. And what you guys are gonna see really quickly is that what I do on the board is a distillation of what's in the textbook. What I end up doing is I write down the pertinent things. So let's try, how many of you have trouble decoding what you're given in the textbook? So you look at the word problem and it just all runs together. Okay, so we're gonna work on that today. I got it right the first time. Lovely.
I think when they don't give it to you, you just assume it's zero. Okay, makes sense. We're trying to get kids sides.
Was this the 11th edition?
Yeah. I work out of the 11th.
Are you gonna do number 1?
What?
You gonna do number 1?
No,
Number 2?
maybe. I'm actually gonna do number 4. Okay. So the marginal cost for a product, see, look at this, it looks exactly like what I put on the board, so don't overthink these guys. So before we get started with it, let's isolate what we know. Marginal cost is 3x plus 50. So marginal cost is 3x plus 50. What else do we know?
The point is $2,000.
the total cost of producing 20 units is $2,000. I'm gonna convert that to math right now. The total cost, so watch closely, total cost of producing 20 units is $2,000. Okay? So if this still throws you, what's my X value in this?
20.
20 units. So another way of saying this is when X equals 20, cost equals 2,000. So if this is an easier way for you, totally cool. Kirby? So I would say this is my X and this is my cost. Okay? Now we have everything we need. Because we needed a command to integrate, right? Find the total cost function. We have the derivative, we integrate. And we have a nugget, so we can find our constant of integration. So how do I set it up, guys?
Integral. It's the first one.
3x
Plus 50.
plus 50 with respect to x. It's integral number 1, yes, it is. Who said that?
Me,
Of course.
points.
Okay. So what's your cost function, guys? This looks an awful lot like the first one I did, huh? Plus 50x plus k sub c. What do I do now? Plug in your nugget. So what do I plug where? What do I plug in for c? 2,000. What do I plug in for x? 20. Okay. So, color coordinating it for you guys, for your viewing pleasure. So this is another one we can do in our heads.
Shouldn't there be, like, how come okay.
Okay, so 20 squared is 400, right? 20 times 20 is 400, right? Times 3 is,
1600.
what's 400 times 3?
1200.
1200 divided by 2 is,
600.
so this is 600. What's 5 times 2?
6,000.
10, add 2 zeros.
1600.
So this is 600 plus 1,000 plus k sub c equals 2,000. So what does k sub c equal, Ryan?
400.
400. Do you guys see why?
Yard.
Awesome. So k sub c equals 400. I don't know why I went to 500 in my brain, but let's back that up 100. So what is my total cost function, guys? Yeah. 3x squared over 2 plus 50x plus 400. Are they easier than you thought they would be? Yeah. Okay. These are not bad. These are not bad at all. The hardest part, Corwin, right? What's the hardest part for you, actually? Just gonna pick on you for a sec. I think the hardest part for a lot of people is decoding what the problem is asking you to find. That's issue number 1. This is the issue I see over and over again. Issue number 2 is decoding your nugget if it's given to you, and if not, creating one for yourself that makes sense in the context of the problem. And issue number 3 is actually plugging that nugget in the right way. Because this gets switched an awful lot. Okay? So if this makes more sense to you than the red version, use the green version. Whatever floats your boat. Kirby?
So there's gonna be problems where they don't give you,
Well, revenue never gives you a nugget. It's implied. Remember?
can we do one like that?
Yeah. You didn't think I was gonna say that, did you?
No, I knew you were.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
why wouldn't you?
I don't know. Because I'm just,
Be
you know,
cruel.
just cranky,
Crank.
cranky old woman. in menopause.
Really?
Not quite, but I'm getting there.
Not yet.
I wish.
TMI.
I wish. Oh, suck it up. Half the world goes through it. Get used to it, guys. Gentlemen, half the world goes through menopause if they live that long. Okay, let's do another one. I'm gonna pick a new one for you guys. Oh, that's just awful. That's not very nice. Oh, here we go. Let's do number 10. It won't sit still because it's hanging off the edge. Sorry, guys. Son of a biscuit. Well, I guess I'm gonna zoom out, aren't I? Sorry, look down if you get like freaked out by things moving and sliding around. I used to hate this with my professors because I would walk out of class with a migraine every damn day because they were doing this all day. Can't get to it. Okay, there we go. All right, marginal cost for a product is blah, 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 and its fixed cost is blah, 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 blah. If the marginal revenue for the product is blah, 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 find the profit or loss from production and sale of 3 units and 8 units. The first thing is, what did it ask you to find? Find the profit. So I'm diagramming the sentences here. This is what we need. We need a profit function. You guys with me? So I'm going to build myself steps to get there. We need profit. Do I have profit? No. What do I have? Okay, so I've been given marginal cost, and from there I can find cost, right? And I've been given marginal revenue, and from there I can find revenue, right? Okay. So profit equals revenue minus cost. So in order to get revenue, I'm going to need to integrate marginal revenue. And in order to get cost, I'm going to need to integrate marginal cost. Is everyone okay with this? All right, so here's my diagram. What are my nuggets? Let's start with revenue. What's my revenue nugget? Let's start with my revenue nugget. What's that little tidbit of information we need to solve for K? Ferris.
Yeah, 340. Zero.
Who said that? Tell me why revenue is 0 when X equals 0.
Because if you're not selling anything, you're not making any money.
That's right. If you're not selling anything, guys, you're not making any money. This is common sense. When you build 0 things, how many dollars are you bringing in? None. Okay? I told you, this is your revenue nugget forever and always, amen. It's always true. So anytime you get a revenue function, you're going to use this. Now, what's my cost nugget? Price? Did you? Thought I heard price, I'm sorry. Cost equals 340. So now we have our nuggets. Group. So now what do we do?
The 340 came from,
Right here. Fixed cost is 340.
okay, sorry.
That's okay. That's totally all right.
It's difficult.
We're diagramming this puppy, so 340. So fixed cost is 340. Fixed cost is when X equals 0, right? So let's start with revenue. We're gonna integrate revenue. What's my marginal revenue? 80X? Is this 1, 2, 3, or 4? What's my integral? 80X squared over 2. plus K sub R. What do I plug in?
0, 0.
Yep, so what's 80 divided by 2, guys? 40. Yeah. What does K sub R equal?
0.
Yeah, so my real revenue function is gonna be 40x squared. Is everyone okay with that? This is a weird half light, isn't it? I'm turning that light back on. It's making my eyeballs hurt.
So if we don't put the little R or the little C or anything like in the thing, you're not gonna like drop this off, or do you want us to do that?
What?
The little R and like the little C that you put,
Oh, these?
Yeah.
Nah, this is just my flair. I do that so I can keep it straight which one I'm working with, because sometimes, how many of you still forgot to label the left-hand side? Yeah, this is gonna bite you right now, because we're working with multiple integrals, multiple functions. You need to know what every single thing is at all times. Chandelier.
Down there where you say when x equals 0, r equals 0, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, when you build zero things, how much money do you make? $0. That's it. So, yeah. Yeah. So now let's look at cost. What's my cost, or what's my marginal cost function?
60 x plus 1 to the 1 half.
Good. Is this integral 1, 2, 3, or 4? 2. This is number 2. So we're gonna use integral number 2. So we find u and create u prime. What's my u?
X plus 1.
Yeah, what's u prime? Okay, what do we have?
60.
Yeah, we have 60. What do we want? So what are we gonna do? 60 over 60? It's just gonna get us a crap ton more 60s.
Divide by 1.
1 over
Yeah.
1.
1 over 1, or if we just pull the 60 out, what's left, guys?
1.
1, okay. So cost equals 60 integral 1 x plus 1 to the 1 half with respect to x. Okay, so cost equals x plus 1 to the 3 halves, 3 halves plus k sub c. Don't forget to label the left-hand side, Ferris. And anybody else that wasn't brave enough to raise their hand. Because you want to be very clear that this is your cost function, not your revenue, not your profit, not your marginal profit, not your marginal revenue. We have a whole bunch of functions going on here. You need to keep them straight. So what does this simplify to? 2 comes up, 60 times 2 is, divided by 3 is 40. So I'm gonna rewrite this as C equals 40 x plus 1 to the 3 halves plus k sub c. So what do I plug in?
0 x.
0 for x and what for c? 340. Good. What's 0 plus 1? 1 cubed is, square root of 1 is, times 40 is 40. 40 plus what equals 340? So k sub c equals 300. So here was my revenue function. I'm gonna write cost right next to it.
Then subtract.
What?
Then subtract.
No. It's not.
No,
Why not?
I don't know.
That. Why not? Well, at this point, we all agree, right? So if this is 40, subtract 40 from both sides, and what does k sub c equal?
I'm talking about the revenue and cost.
Oh, yeah, now we subtract them, Jesus. Profit, whoops, profit equals revenue minus cost. So profit equals revenue, which was 40x squared, minus cost, which was 40x plus 1 to the 3 halves minus 300.
You're gonna
It
distribute
was
the
a plus
40.
300.
No, it's not.
It says plus under there.
It sure does. But what did I just do?
You distributed the minus.
I subtracted cost, which means all the signs are gonna change on every term. Unless I parenthesized it, then the signs aren't gonna change until I get rid of the parentheses. Okay,
To
what?
simplify that?
No,
No,
what's to simplify? Crap.
I don't know. Like distribute the 40 or something.
There's nothing to distribute. Can you distribute this 40?
Why not?
Not until
Oh,
we
yeah,
do
the power.
exponents.
Yep, you're right.
Naughty, naughty. You can't do that. You know better. All right. So it said find the profit or loss from the production and sale of 3 units. So what are we gonna do now? Plug in 3. Let's do it. So profit at 3 units is 40 times 3 squared minus 40. It's 3 plus 1, 3 halves minus 300. So this is 9 is 360 minus 464 is 8. 8 times 40 is 320 minus 300 equals 40 minus 300 is negative 260. Is this in the way? Kind of, sort of. Sorry about that. Bella, you can see it's not in your way? Okay. Questions, guys? You will see one of these on your test.
Something exactly like this?
No, similar. Expect different functions, but yeah, I'm gonna give you a marginal revenue and a marginal cost and expect you to find profit of something. Okay, yes,
So if the revenue function had like K of R was a number, so
Uh-huh.
say 300, would we be able to cross out, I'm guessing no, but the K of R and the K of C?
never do it like that.
Okay.
Always plug in your entire revenue, your entire cost, and then resolve.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
can like combine like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm guessing a few of you are at this point have figured out that if I adjust let me show you something. Profit equals revenue minus cost, right? So if I just go through and take the derivative, marginal profit equals marginal revenue minus marginal cost, is that right? Okay, so if I just do marginal revenue minus marginal cost and I create a marginal profit function and integrate that, why can't I do that? I don't have a nugget for profit. That's exactly right, Corwin. I don't have a nugget for profit. I only have a nugget for cost and the implicit revenue nugget. You guys with me? Had I given you a revenue nugget, you could have done it that way. But because I didn't, you can't. Does that make sense? Okay,
Quick question.
quick answer.
So for the revenue, the nugget is always gonna be 0,
0, 0.
0, 0, and then if they don't give you a nugget, then you assume it's 0?
No. Because
How did you get the x equals 0 for the cost right there?
it was stated in the problem, fixed cost is $340.
Uh-huh.
So fixed cost is when x equals 0.
Okay.
You remember that pretty picture I drew on the board?
No.
Here's cost. Fixed cost is right here. It's literally where x equals 0.
Okay.
So wherever this function starts off, this amount of money here is your fixed cost. Okay? So we can give this to you one of several ways. We could give you the cost at some level of production, like this one, or sorry, not like this one, like the one we did before, the cost of 20 units is 200 or 2,000 or whatever it was. So I can give you any X and any corresponding dollar amount, or I could give you fixed cost, which implies X equals 0. Does that help?
So anytime I see fixed cost, it's 0?
X equals 0.
Okay.
Cost is whatever it's given as, okay? Don't always assume 0, 0 if you're given, or if you're not given a nugget. For example, that continuous compounding interest problem I did from the last homework, it wasn't 0, 0, it was 0p, wasn't it? When n equaled 0, the amount invested was not 0, it was p. Does that make sense? So you have to make sense of the context of the problem. You guys have to be able to read and interpret these.
And that's all the application is.
That's what these application problems look like. They'll go out like this. Yeah, not super bad. Not super bad. You guys want to give the one a shot in the handout? It's probably exactly like the one I just did on the board. Now that I look at it, I should probably look at it.
Wait, could there be a problem where it's like fixed cost and then they give you like units of production, like 20 or something like that?
Wait, say that again?
So could there be like a problem where it says fixed cost and just like the last one we did where X was 20, would they have like
If it says fixed cost, X is 0
at all times? though?
all times, because it's the nature of a cost function.
Yeah.
Fixed cost is where X equals 0, period, end of story.
Okay.
Okay, so if you guys are having trouble remembering these nuggets, draw yourself on your cheat sheet little pictures. The 3 little pictures, like the 3 little pigs. Here's revenue. Revenue always starts at 0, 0, right? Here's cost. Cost always starts at some value, and that value is your fixed cost when X equals 0. And then here's profit. This is break even. Any X value to the left of that is going to give you a negative profit, like this. This is somewhere to the left of break even. And anywhere to the right of break even is going to give you some positive profit, right? Tristan,
That was the exact problem,
was it the exact problem?
the exact one.
Okay. Ferris.
For the exam, I just want to make sure we can bring this cheat sheet on our own.
Yeah, you guys get the tattoo and a single-sided handwritten cheat sheet with whatever you want on it.
Giving us a clean one, right?
For the final, for these class ones, I don't give 2 craps what you've written on it, because you've got a cheat sheet with handwriting all over it. So you can write whatever you want on your tattoos right now. But I'll give you guys clean ones for the final. Does that make sense?
We also get like an extra one on top of it.
Yeah, you get a single-sided handwritten 8.5 by 11 cheat sheet. Yeah,
On the final too.
for part of the final. Not for the department final. They don't let us do that. You've been to the zoo lately. Have you? Well, have you, punk? I like the zoo. I told you guys I resigned, right?
Yeah.
Sounds really bad when I say it like that. No, I volunteered there for 8.5 years. And I just resigned like 3 weeks ago.
To where?
The zoo.
This is
The zoo.
nice.
Are you gonna go back to the summers?
No,
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 who's gonna call it?
no, I'm gonna travel in the summer. That's what I do in the summers. And that's partly why I needed to resign, is I wasn't there for shifts in the summertime and they needed me to be there. And I'm like, no. I spend all my days teaching during the school year, and in the summertime, I don't want to teach little kids in strollers about zebras. I want to pick my feet up somewhere or go diving. That's really what I want to do in the summer. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's homework.
Do you remember Harambe?
Well, he wasn't our gorilla, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I remember Harambe. Why would you bring that up?
I don't know.
Are you just trying to make me feel bad?
No, no, no.
Do you know it like really killed those keepers to put him down, right? You
Yeah.
know that, right? Because keepers don't like beat on their animals and take pride in their pain, you know, they treat them like their children. Yeah. It was heartbreaking.
I wonder how that little kid feels. He's like, I'm responsible for Harambe.
He probably doesn't understand. He was what, 3?
Well, when he grows up and his mother tells him.
Oh, and by the way, kid, you're adopted too.
Yeah.
Sorry for lying to you all these years. Not that adoption is bad, guys, it's great, but you know, finding that out at like 19 is kind of a shock. Just saying.
Just like that.
Find out your sibling was always right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
What do
good.
you mean I really am? That's not okay. All right, so on the handout, I gave you guys 1 or 2 examples, and then I gave you a now you try. So I want you guys to give this one a shot in the last 6 minutes. It's not the one on the very back. It's the one on the second to the last page. It's the average cost of a product. So I want you guys to get through this one. And I'm gonna walk around and help you a little.
No homework.
Oh, there's homework, yeah. Crap. I'll give that to you too. And you can all disappear. Go off. I should probably give you the checklist as well. So here's your study guide for the exam.